Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review, guys. And holy hell, is this one a doozy? We are talking Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. Um, so as you know, it's spooky season here in my household. So I put up the poll for a spooky season book. Um, I am a believer of that when you are a kid, just about anything for the most part can be considered scary. A Stephen King book, for example, if you read that as a kid, you will be scared. Now, as we get older, that ability to scare us kind of goes away. So I think as adults, when we look for something scary to read or watch, I think we look for that uneasy feeling. That sense of dread that you can just feel it reverberate out your body, and that's what this book does. And I'm going to start off by also saying that there are some, people that have read this book that have videos out that they go into how this book speaks on society and this and that and a certain group of people. And I'm just going to tell you guys now, I'm not that kind of person. I don't read between the lines like that. I don't pretend to be. I just read a book for what it is, and that's a book written. I'm not saying that they're wrong when they say that stuff. I'm just saying that's not what I do. I'm gonna tell you what I thought of the book, what I read. Um, Now I'm gonna do my best to try and tell you about this book because I feel like if I told you about some of the stuff in this book, 3/4 of it, if I spoke of any of that, I in depth, this video would get banned. Which, speaking of banned, from what I gathered, I guess this book was a banned book, or they tried to ban it, or something like that. I can see why. Um, but kind of starting off, what is this book about? This book is about Patrick Bateman. He lives in New York. He works in a cushy office job. He's in his mind, he's well respected. He hangs with a certain group of people. This book does take place in the 80s, and whatnot. So this book really is about the downward spiral of Patrick Bateman and how he starts off in the beginning of this book as somewhat of a normal person of what we see, and we're in the mind of Patrick Bateman, and we see him spiral out of control and become an American Psycho. I mean, this book will stick with you for a while, guys. After finishing this, I finished this book last night, and I had to sit there for about 20 minutes. I thought I needed to take a shower after reading it. It was very, very disturbing. Like I said, this book takes place in the 80s. So this book, to sum it up, is a sex-crazed, drug-fueled torture book. That's what this is. I mean, this is... If you've seen any of my reviews before, I read the Old Man's trilogy, and there was some scenes in there of some sexual scenes that I didn't enjoy. I'm not one of those people that like reading about that. I don't care for that, and that's just not my cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with it if you enjoy, to each their own. I just personally don't enjoy that. So I'm gonna tell you guys, if I didn't enjoy that in the Old Man's War trilogy, I sure as hell didn't enjoy reading it in this, because there's probably 50 pages total of, maybe a little less. I may be exaggerating there a little bit, but close to it, of just pages of him and other women and the stuff they were doing, and it's very in-depth detail, and graphic. And I will say, if you think that's graphic and in detail, the torture scenes in this book are way worse than that. I really enjoyed the movie. That's, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite scary movies, but I really enjoy it. I am a huge fan of the Ice Nine Kills song, and whatnot. And I will say that was kind of a bummer for this. The scene is not played out in the movie like how it is in the book, and I know that's to be expected, but still, that was a huge bummer. We didn't get the "Hey Paul" scene, so that was a huge letdown. But again, guys, I feel like, in all honesty, I think maybe Eli Roth, the director, might have read this book and read the torture scenes in this book and said, I bet you I can make a movie based around that. And I think that's probably how he got the movie Hostel, in all honesty, guys, because this was a very, very disturbing, deranged book. Again, I can't go into too much detail in this book. And if you don't believe me, pick the book up, read it for yourself. This is I will give this to Mr. Ellis. This is a book that will stick with you for a long time. There's one scene in there that I read. I just can't get it out of my head, and it's not a good scene, guys. It's not something you want floating around in your head. Um, in all honesty, once I finished reading this book last night, I thought I needed to take a shower for 20 minutes. I mean, it's one of those type of books. I know I kind of got warned ahead of time. Yeah, it's okay. It's an okay book. I'll say what I will, and other people will say what they will. Again, this book will stick with you, and it gives you that sense of uneasiness. While I was reading this book, I mean, I'd had to set it down. I mean, I normally get to work a little early, and I'll sit there and read in the parking lot and just, try to get some reading done for the day. And when I start my day off, on a high note reading, and I'd have to set the book down, and I'd have to sit there and just kind of zone out or listen to music or something. I mean, this is a very deranged, very, very deranged book. Very deranged character. There is a decent cast in here. Probably one of the most boring parts for me was there was a phone call conversation that was like 10 or 12 pages of them trying to figure out what restaurant they wanted to go to, and about halfway through I kept thinking, are they gonna finish this? What pivotal role does this have in the book? And as I got to the end of the book, I was like, okay, this was to set up for this Patrick and this character to kind of have a falling out. But again, this book was kind of all over the place for me. I thought I was going to like it. Then I was like, I don't like it. Then I was like, this book is weird. Then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just being too harsh on the book. I don't even know what to rate this book, guys. I really don't. I did not enjoy what I read. And that sounds very bad when I say it that way. What I read made me very uneasy. I was not pining to read this book. I was not like, I need to read. But I was like, okay, I need to pick up the book. I need to read, try to finish this as quickly as I can. So it's hard for me to rate this book. Because what I read, I don't enjoy reading sex scenes. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm just one of those people. I never will. And the torture scenes, very, very uneasy, highly sadistic, and again, I'm gonna keep repeating it. This book just sticks with you. It really does. So if I'm going off of it because I want it as a spooky read, I can't help but rate this book on the uneasiness feeling high. I mean, because again, that it really is an uneasy book. So I'd probably give this book a 3 out of 5. Now that I think about it, I didn't really enjoy I didn't enjoy reading the sex scenes. The torture scenes made me feel uncomfortable. This whole book, again, so I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. I don't know what more to say on this book, in all honesty, aside from if you're an adult, I would not recommend. If you see your kid reading this, I wouldn't let them read it. Personally, I would not. There's some graphic stuff, very, very graphic stuff in this book that I don't think kids should read. But that's just my opinion. But again, if you're an adult looking, or someone looking for something, to leave you feeling uneasy and disturbed after finishing it or while reading it, American Psycho's should be your go-to. It really should be. But again, guys, I do appreciate you stopping by. I'm sorry this review isn't up to par in my personal opinion, but again, I can't really go into depth on this book without talking about certain things. I feel like the video will get flagged. So again, if you want to talk more about it in the comments, I'm sure we could probably talk a little bit more about it there and get away and not get the video flagged. But again, I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Y'all have a good one.